Hello, and welcome to HelpYourMath.com. In this problem, we're going to be doing the Accuplacer College Level Mathematics exam, problem number 10. Now it says here if theta is an acute angle, and sine of theta is 1/2, then what is the cosine of theta then, right? So in this problem, we know that the angle is an acute angle and sine of theta is 1/2, and so we can picture our triangle as something like this, and where we have here the theta. And of course, we know that the sine of theta is 1/2. And of course, if we know sine of theta is 1/2, and we know that the sine of theta is also, right? When it comes to sine, this is y over r. And our y value here, we see this is the x term, this is the y term, and this is our r term, which is always positive. In this case, the y term is going to be the 1, because we know this is 1/2. And so here we have the respective components, where r is 2, and y is just 1. And now to do cosine of theta, we know that the cosine of theta is actually going to be x over r. In this case, we know what the r is already, which is 2. What we don't know is what the x is. We do know all the sides of the triangle though. And what we want to do here is use the Pythagorean identity. So we know that x squared plus y squared is equivalent to r squared. And so we have the value of x is just x, the value of y is 1 squared, and the value of r is 2 squared. So here we have x squared plus 1 equals 4, and we're going to solve for x by subtracting 1 to both sides. These reduce out. We have x squared is equivalent to just 3. And the value of x is then the square root of x squared, which is equivalent to the square root of 3. And now this square root of x squared just becomes x, and this x is just the square root of 3. Now remember, we already have the equation for the cosine of theta, and that is x over r being 2, and x being the square root of 3. And there we have it. The cosine of theta is then the square root of 3 over 2. And we're done. Thank you. The second method we have here for solving this is going to be using the trig identities, right? Now we know, based on sine of theta being 1/2, and we're looking for cosine of theta, we have trig identities that tell us the sine squared of theta plus the cosine squared of theta is equivalent to 1. And here we know that the sine of theta is 1/2. So if we take that sine of theta to the power of 2, we have 1/2 squared plus the cosine squared of theta equaling 1. Now when we square 1/2, we get 1/4. And here we have plus cosine squared of theta equals to 1. This is a lot faster to solve than our first version. The reason why it's a lot easier to solve is because it's just arithmetic and 1 square root. And so when we subtract the quarter to both sides, these are going to cancel. We have cosine squared of theta is equivalent to 3/4, right? Because 1 take away 1/4 is just 3/4. And now to finish this off, we have the cosine squared of theta is equivalent to 3 over 4. And now we know that this cosine squared theta is a perfect square, so if we took the square root of both sides here, we'll get the solution to cosine of theta, which in this case, the square root of 3 is just the square root of 3, and the square root of 4 becomes 2. And there we have our solution. Cosine theta is equivalent to radical 3 over 2.